Hey everyone, I'm Lori Barnes with Kepler College. I help coaches and astrologers grow, develop, and launch their business. And I'm here with my co-host Marie, who's going to introduce herself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Marie O'Neill, president of Padma Life Coaching. I work with people who have had emotional upheavals and they're ready to jumpstart aspects of their lives. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, this is our series called Let's Talk Astrology Business. Today, we are going to talk about your business plan. I'm going to go ahead and share my
Yay!
Yay! Only marketing business people clap and say yay for business plans. But we hope by the end of this presentation that you will be inspired to do your own business plan. So today,
Absolutely.
yeah, we're talking about business plans for astrologers today.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love business plans and marketing plans and all. I mean, it's what we need to be healthy. It's those roots underneath on the tree. The tree grows up. You see the tree, the branches and the limbs, but it's only as strong as foundation, as the root system. And that's what we're talking about here today. So this is the overview. And this is, of course, basically getting your astrology setting it up. How are you going to set it up? We are going to be talking about whether it's a hobby or a business. You need to make that decision. We'll be looking at the basic business must-haves. We will be looking at the business plan components, of which there are a few, and we have them listed here: the mission, vision, tagline, and values, the business summary. We'll be looking at goal setting, training and continuing education, the marketing plan, and we're also going to be looking at the timing, using the astrology, timing, and your business plan, because that is key. When you start your business, has a profound impact on how the business is going to progress, how fast it's going to progress, and you need to know that. So that is the overview.
Thank you, Marie.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start off by talking about why. Why do I need a business plan? Business plans can sound so boring. But as the quote says here at the top, behind every successful venture is a thoughtfully crafted business plan. This is true for the greater majority of businesses that exist. So why do you want to do a business plan? Well, because you want to invest in your success. Because a business plan will give you a roadmap. It's going to keep you focused. It is your compass and your vision. I call values your compass. I think you want to have your company values, and it's going to be your guide and your compass, which is very tied in with what you're going to write in your business plan. It all has to match up. Your business plan is something that you're going to stick to. You're going to use it to help make decisions. Does this fall within my business plan? Is this something that I should do because it is part of my plan? Or does this fall outside of my plan? And two things could happen. You can realize that what you want to do completely falls within your strategy of your business plan, or you could find that what you want to do is not even related to what you wrote in your business plan. And this is really helpful because then you have to decide, did my direction change? Do I need to update my
Mm-hmm.
business plan? Or do I need to let this go because I want to stay focused? Your business plan can really help you stay on track. Like Marie was saying just a few minutes ago, your business plan creates your foundation. It's that the roots under your tree. So you want to have that. And it's a place to track your benchmarks and milestones. What are those and why do you need them? Well, in any business, you want to be successful. How do you know you're successful? Those are your goals, and goals should be measurable. So that's when we get to your benchmarks. Where are you right now? I have 100 clients. I see 10 clients a month, or I have published 5 blogs a week. Okay, maybe that's too much. I publish 5 blogs a month, a weekly one and a monthly one. Whatever it is, that's a benchmark. That's what you're doing now. And then your goal is, what do you want to get to? Maybe you want to get to the point where you publish 2 blogs a week and still your monthly. So then that's 11 blogs. So a milestone is when you hit that goal. These are important things to have, and your business plan is where you put them. And then you can use your business plan to think ahead, to have strategies for unplanned things that come up. So I'm sure that there's many more, but we wanted to give you a reason why you want to have a business plan. Do you want to add anything to that, Marie?
The only thing that I would add to this is I see a business plan as also giving you permission to say no to other opportunities that are outside of the scope of what it is you want to accomplish. Sometimes we can have opportunities come up that look really good, wonderful. If you have a business plan, you know where you're going, you know where you want to go, you know how you're going to get there. And this, whatever it is, the opportunity or something else that you're thinking about, you might want to do, if it doesn't fit within the scope of where you want to go, it's okay to do it, but you have to know that it's going to take you in another direction. And so being able to say no, a Venus function, and so having a business plan is key for that, because, does it fit? Does this other opportunity fit with where you're going and where you want to go? So, and some people have a huge challenge with saying no, or some people see shiny objects all over the place and they go here or there and don't accomplish whatever the goal is and don't get where they want to be. This business plan, it will help you stay on the road. So one of the first things, actually the first thing you have to know, and you have to answer this question for yourself: is this a hobby, or is it a business? If it is a hobby, then that's an entirely different way of doing business than if it's actually a business. Now, Lori has created a free questionnaire for you to help you figure this out. And the link is going to be in the description. Well, actually, the link is in the description area for you to click on, and you can go to Lori's website and download the free questionnaire. And it's talking about your purpose and motivation, skills and training. These are all questions that you have to answer for yourself. And once you go through this questionnaire, you'll know whether this is a hobby or a business. So if it is a hobby, then of course you have no deadlines, no financial risk, and no financial gain. If you're operating your astrology work as a business, you're going to charge a fee because you have to pay your bills. You have to get paid for this. It's a transactional, business is all transactional. You need to, of course, have your schedule and your hours that you're going to work. You're not going to just do an astrology reading whenever. You're going to have specific working hours. There's professional recognition. You're going to have business management responsibilities. So that means you're going to be doing your bookkeeping and doing your calendar, setting up appointments. You're going to have, there's also financial risk because you're running it as a business, and businesses, not all businesses succeed. Some do. And so there's always a risk when you're going to run a business. You need to, of course, constantly market, because if you're an astrologer, you're seeing your client or a particular client once or twice a year, what happens the rest of the year? You have to constantly market to bring new people in and attract new clients. You are going to need a team of people to help you. And I'm not saying that you need to hire people to work with you where you're every day or every week, but independent contractors, a tax person, an accountant, you've got to have a team approach because you're a solopreneur. You're not able to do everything yourself. I mean, you will be doing a lot yourself, but not everything. So it requires a business skill set. And that means working the part of the brain that is business oriented. And I forget, is that left brain or right brain, Lori?
Yeah.
But it's a particular part of the brain that has to be developed, and it can be. So, yes. Lori, what would you like to add to this?
I think it's really important that you ask yourself this question if you have not yet started your business, or if you've started your business and you're really questioning if it's something that you want to do. Because I think having that business skill set is a whole different type of work than the astrology stuff that you probably really enjoy doing. And I have definitely met people who love to do the astrology, or I've met other types of solopreneurs who really love to do what they love to do as a hobby, but they don't want to do the business stuff. And that's why it's really important that you ask yourself these questions. Because if you really just want to enjoy the astrology and you don't enjoy running a business, you might find yourself in a situation where doing the thing that you love makes you miserable. And you don't want that. You want astrology to stay something that you really enjoy doing. And having your own business is not for everyone. It's perfectly fine to have astrology as your calling, your vocation, your midheaven, but do a different job for money. So not to discourage you. I think, if you want to be an astrologer, be an astrologer. But what we want you to recognize is that you don't just do astrology as a professional astrologer. You are running a business. And that's what we're going to share with you today. And in this entire series, we're sharing with you the things that come with owning your own business. So please download this questionnaire and answer the questions if you haven't yet opened your business, or you have opened your business and you're doubting that this is the right thing for you to do. Okay, we're going to move on to what we're calling business must-haves. And this is a very high level overview. Of course, every single thing that you're going to need isn't on this list, but we wanted to call some things to your attention. And the first thing is the basic business triad. There are 3 things that you have to have a business. And this goes for pretty much every business that you can think of, any business where you make money. You have to have your people that you're going to sell to, your ideal client. You have to have something to sell. You have to have your product or your service. In astrology, it's usually your service or services. And the third thing is your transactional platform. How are people going to exchange money for your service? You have to have those 3 things. You are not able to operate a business without those basic 3 things. Now, some other important elements that you want to think about is separating your business from your personal accounts. Now, this may not be day one when you go into business, but do think about that, because your business is its own entity. And there are some important reasons why you might want to do that sooner than later, especially if you live in the United States. And that is having an employer identification number, an EIN number, means you don't have to put your social security number on all kinds of documents. I found that's one of the things that I did early on in my practice, because for one reason or another, people needed my papers with my social security number, which I don't like to give out. And with an EIN number, I can put that on there. Think about your training, your level of education, your level of skill. Are you ready to open your own business now? Or do you need more training? Do you have enough training to be a responsible professional astrologer? We're not saying what that is in our video today, but if you've only read one book and you want to open your business, we do not recommend that because that is not enough training. If you've only studied astrology for a year, highly unlikely that you've had enough experience
Yeah.
and training to open your own business. So we do want you to think about, are you ready? And then consulting and counseling skills. This is becoming more part of the conversation in astrology, thankfully. We know that there's courses out there. Many organizations offer these courses. I know Kepler does, I know OPA does. And it's just important that you have this extra set of skills for the interaction with another person. And then time management, because you're on your own. You could not work for 3 days and there's nobody calling you. There's no work calling. There's no boss calling. There's no getting in trouble. You're not getting written up. But if you do that a lot, then your business isn't really operating and you're probably not making any money. So you do want to think about your time management. These are some important elements. And then technology. So in our day and age, it is impossible, practically impossible, to run a business without technology. I'm not saying it's impossible. There's always an exception to the rule, but we're talking about the majority of businesses are not able to operate without technology. You need your computer, you need your internet, you need a way to see people. If you have clients that are more than an hour away, you're not going to be able to see them without driving. And of course, if you do drive and you do see people in person, there is the time. You have to include that with your offerings. If you're not seeing your clients online, then you have to factor in your pricing the whole time. So if you drive a half an hour to see someone and a half an hour back, that's an extra hour. Okay, what else? Features. Technology these days has so many features that it's really difficult to figure out, like, what do I actually need? Sometimes those pretty bells and whistles, like all these fancy things that could come with technology, they all sound great, but will you actually use them? So we recommend that you buy what you need. Don't buy way more than you need because you'll be paying more money. Upgrade whenever you need to upgrade. You know, when you need that feature, you cannot do what you want to do without it, then upgrade. But going and getting a whole bunch of features and platforms with more than you need can cost you extra money that you don't need to spend. Of course, we just had Pluto move into Aquarius, and soon it'll be in Aquarius to stay next year after its little dip back into Capricorn at the end of 2024. So we know that more technology is coming. We know more AI is coming. Being familiar and comfortable with technology is going to be really important for you to operate your business. And of course, this is subjective, but I think that this marketing in general is going to support this statement. Having an automated payment system and booking calendar is super important because most people now, they want immediate gratification. If they're ready to buy from you, like they know that they want to book a service with you, make it easy. Have a booking calendar and a payment system attached to it so that your store is open 24/7. It's always open. It never closes on the internet. And this is really easy to get set up. People, the platforms that offer these services, they want you to use them. They make it very easy to get them set up. And your competition is doing it. So if you want to stay competitive, you want to offer these platforms that are easy to use. You want to make it easy, friction-free for your clients to come in and purchase your services. And then the last thing I'm going to mention is integrations. So when you are searching for a platform for whatever it is that you need, look for platforms that work with the platforms you're already using. The Google Calendar is a really good example. And most of the big platforms will integrate with Google where it makes sense, right? So if you need a calendar program on your website, you want that program to integrate with your calendar so that it knows when you're free and it knows when you're busy. and it does that automatically. And if you want to take a vacation, all you have to do is go in your Google Calendar and block the time off. And then your automated booking calendar knows it can't book a client during that time period. So that's just a sample of an integration. There are many, many different types of integrations, far more than calendars and far more than the scope of today's video, but just wanted to call that to your attention. Marie, what would you like to add?
With technology, a lot of times there is a learning curve when you're actually going to be working with a particular technology. There's a learning curve to figure out how it works and in making it easy for yourself. This is why it's important to bring in bring in the technology that you want to use a little at a time. It's important that you have the booking calendar and the payment system set up right away so that number one, so that you can make some money too, and people can hire you. That's going to free up a lot of time. It also, with the booking calendar and the payment system, it doesn't mean that people won't contact you directly before they book, because sometimes they do. But it's nice to free yourself up, your time, because time is so important. So having this technology is going to help you look more professional and be more professional. This is what all of us want. Be okay with the learning curve, with learning how to operate and work with some of the technology. And there's always tutorials out here for the technology too. So don't be afraid of it, and help yourself to be more successful, or to be successful, by integrating some of this technology into your business, but do it at a pace that is good for you. That's all I wanted to add on that. This is, yeah. And we're looking, of course, at the business plan. And in what you have to understand with the business plan, it does not have to be a 5-page document. You can have it be a page, but you also need to sit down and really think about what it is you want for your business. It's your vision for the business. It's your long-term vision, and it helps to keep you on track with what it is you want for your business. It needs to be reviewed at least annually, because when you start a business and you run it for a particular period of time, say a year, things change. Your ideas of what you want may change, and you need to update it on a yearly basis. The different pieces of a business plan, first of all, you have to know what your purpose is. This is your mission. What are your primary objectives? What is it you're actually doing? Why are you setting up this business? You've got to have a vision. What are the goals? What are your long-term goals, your aspirations, your dreams? It has to have that. You also need a tagline. And a tagline is basically a phrase that is usually about 7 words, describing your brand and what it is you do. I'm a life renewal coach. So my tagline involves bringing joy and happiness back into your life. So hopefully it's a catchy phrase that is intriguing to the person that you're talking to, or who you're talking to, so that you can start a conversation. You've got to have company values. What value system do you want for your business? What are your beliefs? What are your principles? And they need to be there because that's what's going to guide your business. For me, it's all about helping people to renew their lives. And so I have a particular belief around that. I have principles of how I'm going to operate my business. It needs to be professional. It needs to look professional. I need to act professional. I have um, I have other principles too, but you need to know what your company values are. This is going to go into your business plan, and make sure that your business plan is unique for you, not the person, not another astrologer. So that is, Lori, what would you like to add to that?
Well, I want to share a personal story. I started my business in 2020. I've been an astrologer for much longer than that, but I decided to go professional. And I think I'm at least on my 10th tagline. And I'm sharing this story because sometimes it's hard to get it right the first time. Like when you first open your business, you may think that you're going to focus on this particular area of astrology, and it could change. That also changed for me. I mean, I'm probably in my third or fourth type of astrology that I do. I mean, if you would have asked me 4 years ago, I would have said, I'm going to be a medical astrologer. I love medical astrology. But it turns out I started gravitating towards career astrology. And now I really love doing marketing for astrologers, so much that I wrote a whole course on it. But I didn't know that. If you would have asked me that 4 years ago,
Right.
I would have said something totally different. And my taglines have also just evolved multiple times. Like I
Yep.
said, more than 10. I don't even know which one I'm on, but I have a document with all these different things that I've tried out. So I'm sharing this with you so that you don't feel like you're not sure if you got it right, or that there's something wrong because you keep changing it. Now, I mean, I'm certainly not saying change it all the time, because that's not good either. I like the concept of balanced flexibility, that you're not too rigid and you're not too quick to change, but to give yourself the permission to evolve. Do what you think you want to do. And if you love it, keep going. But if you're doing that and you realize that it's just not what you thought it was going to be, or you're not enjoying it, there are many different types of specialties you can have in astrology. And if you decide to switch, it's okay. You're going to have to change your tagline. You might have to change your mission vision, maybe, maybe not, because they're typically generic enough that they might stay intact. But the whole point is that you're going to evolve, you're going to change, you're going to grow, and you want your business plan to grow with you. You don't want it to be this rigid document that never
Right.
changes.
This is so true. I mean, you don't want to stagnate yourself. And the universe loves when we take action. And the universe will direct us if we are going in a direction that we shouldn't be going in, or that isn't optimal for us. The thing is to take a step, to actually take action and put something in place. And then you can shift it, you can change it. So take the fear out of having to get this right the first time. My goodness, I had to rebrand after a few years of being in business because my whole brand shifted, my whole name shifted, and I get you on that, Lori. You
Yeah.
definitely, yeah.
All right. So the next part is your business summary. And we used to call this the elevator speech. And Marie and I were talking earlier that we're not sure that the younger generations use this term anymore, but we're going to teach it to you today. If you've never heard of it before, the concept came from when you stepped into the elevator with somebody who could be interested in what you do, or if you stepped in an elevator with, say, the department head of some organization you work for, and you want to pitch something to them, you have about 30 seconds on that elevator ride before one of you steps off. So the concept transfers into the business community, because when you're networking and you're meeting people, you want to be able to describe your business in 30 seconds or less.
Mhm.
That's why we start our video series off with, who we are and what we do. I say that I help astrologers develop, launch, and grow their business. So I said that what in like 3 seconds. So mine is nowhere
Mhm.
near 30 seconds, but I could probably keep going for 30 seconds. I could probably keep going on and on and on, because when you love your business, it comes out. What we're asking you to do is to write up a very short business summary and memorize it. Because when you're on somebody's podcast, you're doing YouTube videos, or you're networking, you go to a conference, wherever you are, you want to be able to say that, because that's also part of your branding. And it has to match your brand. And it's
Mhm.
what you're going to use anytime you meet someone. Oh, what do you do? Well, I help astrologers launch and grow their business. That's what I do. So like it says here, you're going to use it often in your marketing materials. It helps you tell people what you do. And that repetition for brand awareness cannot be understated. Once you say this enough to a lot of different people, they're going to start thinking of you when they hear, oh yeah, that Lori person over at Kepler, she does marketing for astrologers. I hear her say it all the time. And that's intentional. We want you to do the same. You want to repeat what you do, and make that tagline kind of stick with people. And then they're going to remember that, and they're going to share that with other people.
Mhm.
It's similar to a hook. A hook is what we use with your actual services. Every service should have a hook, something that like uh, brings people in, it hooks people into your service. And this is really important. We're going to cover this more when we do marketing in our next video, but you want to use the same words that your ideal client uses when possible.
Mhm.
And it carries the spirit of your owner passion. My owner passion of my business has become a mix of marketing and astrology. And when I talk about it, I get excited. And sometimes I can't stop talking about it. That's this kind of spirit that you want to come through in your business summary. You want the person who's listening to you see that light in your eye, how you light
Mhm.
up, uh, right? Your face, like everything just lights up. They see how much you love it. And it kind of gets people excited about what you do. Even if they're not even interested, they might get excited because your spirit is so, it's coming out of you, is emanating out of you. What would you like to add to that, Marie?
That is so true. With, it's interesting because your this summary needs to be a benefit for the person that you're working with, for your ideal client. So it needs to be almost a benefit statement for them, because it's like, oh, who are you? Well, if you say you're an astrologer, or I say I'm a life coach, and I actually don't say I'm a life coach. I actually talk about my tagline and my business summary when people ask me, what do I do? Because when you say, oh, I'm an accountant, or I'm this or that, it's kind of doesn't go over people's head, but it's not something that is exciting. And if you come up with a good business summary and a good tagline, that's what you lead with. And then you can then say, well, I say, as when I do my summary, if I've done the summary well enough, the person will come back and say, oh, how do you do that? Then I can say, well, I use astrology, life coaching, other tools, metaphysical tools to help my client do this. So that's how I set it up. But it needs to be something, the summary has to be a benefit for the other person. How are you helping them? What are you doing for them? It's all about the client. It's not about you. So,
Such a great point. Such a great point.
and so then we move into the type of business. And there are a few different types of businesses, especially here in the U.S. And Lori, of course, will talk about Europe. But each country basically has their types of business, and you need to know what types of businesses are available to you in your country. Here in the US, you can be a sole proprietor, meaning it's just, you. But then remember, there's the liability part. If you're a sole proprietor and you're sued, it's your personal assets that are on the line. You can have a limited liability corporation, which is an LLC. You can have a corporation or an S Corp. And with the corporations, you need, of course, a board. And a board can be 2, 3 people, I believe. I think it could be 2 people. But you need to do a little bit of homework to find out what's going to work for you. There is nothing wrong with being a sole proprietor. And sometimes, though, when you grow your business to a certain level, you want to switch to a limited liability because you want, or to a corporation or S corp, because you want to protect your personal assets. That's one of the main reasons that you really want to look at other types of businesses. I do know astrologers who just off the starting gate, they set up a corporation or a limited liability partner corporation, and that is totally fine. Now, after you, and we were talking about this, if your business grows, you do want to shift your business, and you'll know, actually, if you have a tax person, an accountant, they will help you with this too, to know when a good time is for you to shift to an LLC. And it doesn't take much to set them up. And I think the cost here in the US is somewhere around $500, $800, depending on where you are. The other thing is where you set it up. I do know astrologers who set their corporations up in other states because the rules are different, the tax laws are different. So you'll need to do a bit of homework on that. Think about this is a business. So you have to think like a business, and what is of benefit for you, for the business. How are you going to save money? How are you get the best bang for your buck, so to speak? So, Lori, what would you like to add to that?
Yeah, very good points. I just wanted to add that whatever type of business you set up will also impact your taxing situation, how you pay taxes,
Mhm.
and how you pay yourself. So as a sole proprietorship, it's probably the easiest way and requires the least amount of paperwork and has the
Mhm.
greatest amount of liability. But when you go to a limited liability or a corporation, then it's your company, your corporation that's paying you. So there are some other complexities that come, also some benefits that come, but do your homework first, like Murray said, because it's not just about the financial investment, what you'll have to pay to set those company types up, but there's other things that will come, your tax setup, and then how you're going to pay yourself, and paying into Social Security, paying state taxes. There may be city taxes where you live,
Mhm.
and obviously there's federal taxes in the United States. If you don't live in the United States, there's other taxes. And I'm just going to pop over to oh, it's not there. Well, we will be talking about some of the different things that you can run into in different countries.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I mean, there are some clear tax advantages to having a corporation that sole proprietors don't have. And, and limited liability, and you protect your assets. That's a big deal. And the
Yeah.
amount of taxes, like Laura was saying, that you pay is different
Mhm.
because you're going to pay yourself a salary. And that's a huge deal.
Yeah. And then when you start hiring people, that's another consideration.
Mhm.
And you can hire independent contractors or you can hire employees. And that's definitely going to impact your tax situation, and you really want to think about what business structure you want to have if you're going to have employees, because it's quite complicated and you will want to have an accountant help you with that, unless you are an accountant by by trade. And even if you think, oh, I can do all that, it's your time. Your time is a resource. And if you can make more money with your time seeing clients
Oh,
than
yeah.
paying an accountant, it makes more sense to pay your accountant to take care of this type of stuff. This is the type of stuff that is a great example for outsourcing. And that's really what this slide is all about, is getting help, getting your team. It's always a good idea to hire people before you need them. And I know that that can sometimes be a financial hardship, but if you can, if you know you're going to need somebody to take video editing off of your plate, because in a few months, you're just not going to be able to do it all. Maybe your client list is growing, or you just signed up to speak at different places, or you've decided to increase your blogs from 1 a week to 2 a week, whatever it is, you need to have the time to do that. And what you want to do is get off of your plate anything that you can delegate, or the things that you don't like to do, that you don't have to do. So if you're the astrologer, you have to see your clients and you have to create engaging content. But beyond the creation of it, you don't have to make the graphics. You don't have to edit your videos. You don't have to publish things on your website. And you may be able to do that, but at some point when you have a very, very full schedule and you're not getting days off, you really want to look to bringing on a team. We have here some of the most common things that do get outsourced. Your tax person, your VA, which stands for virtual assistant, somebody who helps you online. You don't have to be in the same country. You can just find these people online and they help you. Also, your web designer, your graphic designer, a social media person. If you have an OBM, which is a higher kind of high level person, online business manager, and they often manage your business affairs and also can manage your team. And a video editor, that's also one of, I think, the first things that people tend to delegate. Of course, it depends on your budget, depends on what you're trying to do with your marketing to help you determine who you need, what type of person you want to hire. The question, I already mentioned this, but it's worth mentioning again. Can you earn more in an hour than what you're paying somebody to do? Because time, money, these are really important resources for a business owner. If you can pay a graphic designer $25 an hour and you can charge $150, $200 or $250 an hour to see a client, there's math there. It makes more sense to delegate for $25 an hour and go see that client for a lot more. Start by sourcing out the things you don't like to do. That's a really good plan for figuring out what to outsource. Something that comes up quite often is trade. And I will say, Marie and I did a whole video on pricing where we go into more detail on these things. But when it comes to trade apples to apples. The idea that a consultation might be an hour or an hour and a half isn't accurate for how much time it actually takes you, because you're going to prepare charts. So you have to think about that. And is the long-term trade even feasible? If you trade with a massage person, for them, a massage for something makes sense, but there may not be enough astrology for however many massages you want. So you just kind of have to think about the reality of doing trade. And then the last thing to mention is having your friends or family be on your team. And I'm a Libra, so I'm going to take both sides. So on one hand, it's phenomenal. It's awesome if a friend or family member can pop in and take stuff off your plate. They get your brand, they get your messaging, they are good at graphic design, they're good at editing, they're good at accounting, whatever it is. And maybe it is free, maybe it's your partner and they're partnering with you in your business, or it's a friend who gives you a really great rate. Those are all fantastic situations. Now, On the other side, what happens if your friend, family member doesn't do a good job, or you get in an argument, or they put their own life in front of your business? There's many scenarios that we could invent, but you don't want to let your business come between a good relationship with a family member or a friend. So there is no right or wrong answer here. There's only the question of, is this a good idea for my situation?
Mhm.
We definitely hear the stories of these marketing people whose, great, awesome uh, business that they opened, retired their spouse, and now they travel with their kids in an RV. I can't tell you how many times I've read this story. And that's great when it works, but we can't assume it's going to work for everyone. So just tread lightly, and definitely don't hire a friend or family member to do something that they're not qualified to do, because that is just a disaster in the making. If they are learning Canva for the first time so they can do your designs, it's not likely that they're going to produce something that works well for you. There's exceptions to the rule, I know, but just generally speaking, you want to think about these things. Do you want to add anything to that,
I
Marie?
love that. One of the, one of the things that you have to look at with hiring family or friends is you need to know what your boundaries are. Do you have the ability to tell your family or friend that they messed up on something that they created for you? Do you have the ability to say, I really don't want that. This is what I want. You need to have, in my view, a professional relationship. Now, I don't have the Libra. I don't. I have Saturn in Capricorn. So I need to keep it professional. And if my graphics designer or editor does something that I don't like, because I am paying that person, I feel more comfortable saying, can you change this? Can you change that? So there's less of an argument. And when you go down that road with working with families and family or friends, it can cause you a bit of angst down, down the road. And that's something you don't want. So yes, work with family and friends if that works for you, but know that you need to be able to set clear boundaries, and you still need to treat this professionally because it is a business. It's not a hobby. The other thing is with the outsourcing, money may be an issue with outsourcing, to all the different people that you can use or would like to have on your team. Choose one to start with. What is the biggest thing that you would like to take off of your plate? For me, initially, it was a virtual assistant. I really needed the help, so I worked with a virtual assistant. And then it became, oh my goodness, I have to have an editor, a video editor, because I'm doing all the editing, I'm doing all the creating. It's taking hours to do this one video. That's where I put my money. I mean, and you can add people as you need them. Tax person is paramount. I mean, in my view, this is a should. You should have a tax person. You should never do your own taxes when you're in business. It's going to save you if you have to go through an audit. If something happens, you've got that tax person helping you. So that's primary. But yeah, anyway, that's what I wanted to say about that. Wanted to add to that. So then we move into your resources. And it's not just about how much cash you have. You have other resources. So, of course, there's savings and investments. And so you need to, of course, you want your income to grow. So you want to save at least a certain percentage of every astrology reading, or whatever it is you're making. You want to, even if it's 5%, it's amazing with compound interest how much that will add to your investment account. Also, if something happens and you have some type of expense that comes up that was unforeseen, you'll have the savings to be able to take care of it. Then we move into there's material resources. You have equipment, your computer, that's a material resource. If you have lighting, if you're, your home, your investments, your in all of that are material resources. There's non-material resources, which are the intangible assets. So you're educated. You've either taken classes to become an astrologer, or you maybe have a degree or certification. You have skills that you have acquired outside of the astrological community. Maybe you have wonderful speaking skills, or you you have skills that are beneficial. You're not necessarily making money with those skills, but they are assets, and they are skills that you can use as an astrologer. Then there are the human resources. And this is a piggyback from the previous slide, because you have team members and supportive friends and family and partners who support you, who help bolster you, to help increase your self-esteem and keep you going. Who do you call when you had a bad day? Who do you call when you need advice? You usually call on your family or friends, people who are supportive. These are assets that help you. Behind every successful business is usually a team of people who are supporting that business, and that doesn't mean that you're paying the money. You can certainly have, as we talked about, the VA, the tax person, all, those people are there for you, but there are there's other support, your support network. You have that. So speaking of networks, you want to make sure that you connect with peers, other people, other astrologers, people in your industry, so that you can network, so that you can continue learning and growing. Think about civilizations, different cultures. The growth in a particular culture usually comes because of interactions with other groups of people. You come in and you learn skills that maybe you didn't know because you've interacted with people who have those skills. This is how we grow. So you want to join other other astrologers' mailing lists so that you can gain insights. Maybe you have a blog. Maybe you are going to do a YouTube channel. Well, if you're on other astrologers' lists, the other astrologers are, of course, writing their blogs and doing their videos, and you may get ideas on what you want to do for your blog. You're going to get insights, and there's also going to be opportunities for growth, opportunities for connecting with other astrologers and being on their podcast. It's The astrological community is not huge when we look at the big wide world. If we are Because we are not huge, it makes it easier for us to connect with other astrologers and support other astrologers. And the other astrologers, of course, will support you. So I am a firm believer in networking. And then we look at the SWOT analysis, which is key. You must know what your strengths are, and you need to know what your weaknesses are too, because your weaknesses, that is where you can then hire or bring in other people who have strengths in areas with the areas that are your weakness. Because with a business, if you have a weakness, you've got to be able to shore that up. Somebody has to have that as a strength. So you want to look at your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities. What opportunities are out there and what threats are out there? And I know as an astrologer, I'm positive most of the time, but you've got to know what's going on what's going on in the community, what's going on outside the community that could affect your business adversely. What would you like to add to that, Lori?
I would like to say that a SWOT analysis can be very helpful also for your services.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've never heard of it before, it's a very popular business tool. I think most big businesses have a SWOT analysis, not just for the company, but on their products and services. So when you're first launching something new, you might want to do a SWOT on that particular service. And you can also do a personal SWOT on yourself. So there's not really a limit to what you can use the SWOT for. We definitely recommend that you do that on your business. And if you're wondering like, well, why SWOT and why those words? It's because it is a well-known business tool. And we wanted to bring that to your attention that this is a common practice used in many, many
Mm-hmm.
businesses. And the strengths and weaknesses, they're internal. So these are things that are inside of you. And the opportunities and threats are external. So these are things that
Mm-hmm.
impact your business from the outside. And of course, astrology speaks to all of these things. So if you're struggling to figure those things out in terms of like fitting into the business community in astrology, then pull out your chart and
Mm-hmm.
define your strengths and weaknesses through your chart and describe your opportunities and threats through your transits and your progressions, whatever forecasting techniques you use. That's how I would recommend doing that. The next section we're going to talk about is revenue streams and pricing structure. And this is important in the business plan because you'll want to have a budget for your business. Budgeting and pricing are very much related because your budget speaks to both your revenue and your expenses. You obviously want more revenue than expenses. And in order to come to that revenue amount, if you're projecting for a future period of time, then your pricing is going to be the number that you're multiplying times however many clients you're going to see. In the beginning, your budget is very much a forecast. But after you're in business for a few years, you have a history of information, and that can help you decide on your pricing. So if you are not making ends meet, is it that you can increase your prices, or are you right where you want to be in pricing and you want to increase the number of clients, and maybe even both? Like you might find that you need to increase your price and that you want to bring in more clients. But time is money. And at some point, there's only so many hours in a day. So if you've reached your threshold on clients and you can't fit any more appointments in your calendar, then you have to start looking at your pricing. And you might even get to the point where you have to start looking at other streams of income, whether it's groups, teaching, or speaking at events. Many, I think, astrologers do get paid to speak, many don't, but there are different ways. But without a budget and without tracking your numbers, you're not going to really know the whole picture. So this is an important part of your business plan. I would recommend that you do it monthly because most of us pay our bills monthly. So if you start tracking like everything that you pay, you have to know how much money has to go out. You have your fixed expenses, and then you have your variable expenses, things that you choose to spend your money on. And of course, your fixed expenses are like your rent, your utilities, your food, your car payment, car insurance, et cetera, et cetera. And your variable expenses are, what do you like to spend your money on? Maybe you like to go to the movies. Maybe you like to buy a lot of astrology books or take classes at Kepler College. That'd be me. So just kind of like knowing what that number is, like this is how much money I need to make every year just to live the lifestyle that I want. We want to remind you, if it's not totally obvious, that your revenue, your monthly income is variable when you own and operate your own business. You're not an employee. You're not going to get that regular paycheck. You can't expect to get X amount of dollars every month. You have to go and you have to find your clients. So you want to keep that in mind, that if you have a really good month, you had, a lot of clients, that doesn't guarantee that the next month you're going to have the same amount of clients. You do want to think ahead about what is your minimum that you have to make, and how are you going to do that, and how are you going to set up your pricing so that it meets the needs of your budget. You want to be really consistent with your pricing. You want to think about all the different things that you offer, and they have to make sense as they relate to each other. So for example, if you have a consultation and it's $100, and then you have a package of consultations of 3, the most you could charge is 300. You can't charge more than that, because it would be cheaper for them to buy the individual packages. And it's more likely that they will buy that package if you give them a little bit of a discount. So you want to think about that consistent pricing. Also, within your pricing structure and your revenue stream, you have to plan for when you want time off. And you really do want to take time off. We have to recharge and reset. So when you want to take those vacation days off, not only do you need to block them on your calendar, but you need to have that in your budget. If you're not going to work 52 weeks of the year, and I hope that you don't, then you have to budget for however many weeks of the year you are going to work. So maybe it's 40. Maybe you want to, like, if you own a business, you want the lifestyle of having more free time. Maybe you only want to work 40 weeks of the year. Then that's the number you're using as you're planning ahead, as you're matching your budget and your revenue stream to fit the amount of money you need to make. And what I would do, this is what I do, actually, I have a spreadsheet and it has formulas. So I can type in different prices, and I can type in different amounts of clients, like how many consultations I'm selling at that price. So I can find the right mix that works for me. It's fairly easy to set that up in an Excel spreadsheet. And if you don't know how to do that, there are tons of tutorials for free out there on YouTube, so you can learn how to do that. But I definitely recommend that you do that. What would you like to add, Marie?
The only thing that I would stress on this is you really do need to find ways to have passive income. And this is, so that you're making money without having to do anything on a consistent basis. So maybe you create a program, just like, we have here, and it's on your website and people can buy it. Maybe you have a membership site, or or you're teaching. You really do need something that's going to bring income in, especially if you're going on vacation, because you want to go on vacation. Or what happens if you get ill and you're not able to work, or somebody in your family is ill and you're not able to work? You still need to be able to bring money in. So the sooner you can come up with ways to bring in passive income, ways where, you're creating programs, or even membership sites with information up there that people can download, you'll make money without having to actually do anything on a consistent basis. But you do have to work hard up front to create the programs and the classes and the courses and all that. But that's what I'd like to add to that. Make sure you do that, because this is going to carry you a long distance too. And so then we're looking at your strategic goals and the short-term goals. You've got to make what we call SMART goals. So you've got, what you want to do is define your vision for yourself, for your business. Where do you want your business to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now? It's interesting, if you go out 20 years or 15 years, it's easy. That's where I start. I look at 15 years out and I work backwards. So that informs me as to what I need to do in a year or 3 years to actually reach that long-term goal. Then you're looking at your strategic plan. So this would be easy to read bullet points, which and they need to be easy to read because you need to actually just focus and see them at a glance when you look at them. Um, and it really reflects your long-term vision so that you keep it in mind. If it's not in mind, it's easy to forget. It's easy to go off track if you don't know what your long-term plan is. Now, with your short-term goals, that really needs to be short and needs to be detailed. This is where you're going to put together a detailed action list, action steps. What are you going to do? When are you going to do it? How you're going to accomplish these short-term goals so that you can follow it. Now, this is, I want to call it fixed mutable because when you put these short-term goals together and you put a detailed list together of how you're going to accomplish the goal, once you start the process, you may find that you have to tweak it because you find something doesn't work well or something does work, and you're able to move through a particular part of the list quicker. But it's fixed, but yet you may have to switch it a little. You may have to tweak it a little bit. With your short-term and your long-term goals, you do need to review these goals frequently so that you stay on track, and you want to assess and tweak your goals based on what is actually happening. This brings us to the SMART goals, which is something that most businesses use. It needs to be specific, meaning, okay, so I want to have two clients a month for 12 months. That's pretty specific. And it's measurable, which means that you've got a numerical benchmark to look at. So did you get 2 new clients a month for a year or didn't you? It's measurable and it needs to be achievable. You want to make sure that whatever goal you come up with, it needs to be something that you can do. If you're a brand new astrologer and nobody knows who you are, then can you say you're going to get 10 clients a month? Where are they coming from? Or 20 clients a month? So it needs to be achievable. So here we've got make 10 presentations, but not sell 10 readings. So that is achievable. You can do 10 presentations, but to sell 10 readings is going to be a lot harder. So you want to make sure it's achievable, meaning it needs to be realistic. So you want your goal to be challenging because you want to be motivated to do it. But you don't want to challenge your motivation. You don't want to sink yourself. You want it to be a goal that you can achieve. It's within your grasp to achieve it. So this is going to keep you motivated. Also, you want to establish a timeline of when you want to achieve this goal. That's going to push you and motivate you to actually get going and do what is necessary to achieve the goal. In this deadline needs to be, if you say 2 clients a month, so are you looking at the end of the month or the middle of the month, or it needs to be, you need to have a deadline for yourself and not keep moving that deadline. Because if you're having to move the deadline, maybe the goal isn't achievable. that you've set for yourself, or maybe it's not realistic and you need to revisit. So SMART goals, that is something that you can actually post it um, on your keyboard or on your desk somewhere to look at it, so that when you're thinking about a goal, you can look at the SMART goal to see if it's specific, if it's measurable, if it's achievable. So, what would you like to add to that?
I think that the SMART goals really speak to the benchmarks and milestones that we were talking about in the beginning. This is where you're getting those numbers. You know, where are you at now? Where are you starting? And where do you want to go? And I think that there's this two different ways to look at these SMART goals. And I do both. I have to say I do both. So I would say how many clients I want to get in a time period. You know, like I want to have a goal for that. But the truth is, it's out of my control if somebody decides to book a reading with me. I can't make them do that. That's somebody else taking that action. But what I can do is get myself out there and hopefully attract my ideal client. So I do both because I do think it's important to have goals in terms of, you know, how many clients do I want to attract? How much income do I want to generate? Those are important to have. When I actually write my goal, I'll have that, but I'll do a different way of writing that. So it's like, how am I going to attract 2 clients a month? Those things that I do to attract the clients, that is within my control. I can go out and do 10 presentations because that is within my power. That doesn't guarantee that 10 people are going to sign up with me. So I like to do it both ways. In one, kind of like, what do I want? And then there's, what am I going to do to make that happen? And when you write those goals, I really look at them and ask yourself, can I do that? Can I get 10 people to sign up? Who's doing the action? Let me put it that way. Whoever's doing the action has that control. So you might end up taking your numerical goal and then just writing it in a different way by stating it with only the things you can actually do to make that happen. Because that way you get credit for doing all of that work, even if it ends up, you don't get the extra 2 clients a month, or you don't get the 10 clients a month, or whatever it is. And you don't want to just be like, oh, I didn't do that, that failed. Because you did a whole bunch of stuff to try to make that happen. And you want to be able to acknowledge that. So I recommend that you definitely have your goals, your you know, what you want to bring in, and then you rewrite them only using language of the actions you can 100% control.
Oh, absolutely. I know I definitely agree with you with the presentations. And I set a goal when I do a presentation, I set a goal to get 1 client from that presentation. I don't set it high, just 1 client. And it's amazing when you set a goal like that, though, the universe conspires to help you to achieve that goal. But you do need to be out there and doing presentations. And even if you're not a speaker per se out on the speaking circuit, there are other ways to present. You can present in your local astrological community or present to non astrology groups, or just getting out there, networking. There's so many different ways. As a matter of fact, networking is one of the key ways to grow your business. It's I remember taking a class once when they said emails and blogs and that sort of thing, it's 20% of the marketing. 80% has to come from speaking, networking, and referrals.
Okay, now we're going to talk about training and continuing education. And this would be a section in your business plan where you would talk about where you are now and where you'd like to go. some of the things that you want to think about are certification. Do you have a certification? And is it from a reputable astrology school or an organization? Because this is becoming more and more common, and it will help with your credibility. I wouldn't be surprised if in 5, 10, 15 years, it becomes more and more important to the clients and the consumers. So you might want to think about that as part of your business strategy. And there are many places where you can do training and continuing education. There's lots of workshops, webinars, courses, conferences. You can do study groups. You can go on social media, and there's lots of private groups that are discussing astrology. So take your pick. Now, in addition to your astrology training, there's business training. And this is one of those training videos for business. And we definitely recommend that you include that in your training plan. You can take business courses and learn more about marketing or accounting or client management, whatever it is that you feel like is important for your business. And Kepler College is actually growing our business side of things. The series is part of it. We have a whole professional development certificate, and we have Omari Martin teaches astro entrepreneurship. Marie teaches the business of the business for life coaches. So you'll see that we already have things available to you. Now, continuing on with another skill set that I believe is very important, and I think Maria agrees with me, and that's consulting skills. It is an adjunct skill. Whether you're trained or not, when you go into a consultation, you're consulting. And there's a special skill set just around how to do that, how to have good active listening, how to look at verbal and nonverbal cues, and how to really hear what your client is looking for, hear beyond their actual words. So taking a consulting skills course or getting the certification, OPA has a whole certification program. And we at Kepler College, we offer consulting skills, which actually counts towards that certification. So I would hope that you include something in your plan that helps you improve your consulting skills or gain consulting skills if you've never learned them before. You will probably want to also have continuing education around technology. It's not going away unless electricity and the internet go away. So right now, it's not looking like that's going to happen, not with Pluto and Aquarius. So you want to include in your plan, like, how are you going to improve the technology aspect of your business? And astrological software on top of that. So just combining technology and astrology, it makes it so much easier to do your job by using astrological software. I mean, who does charts by hand anymore for every single client? We want to learn it, we want to know how to do it, but once we know how to do it, then it's so much faster to rely on your computer. And when it's time and money as a resource, it's way faster to use astrological software than to calculate by hand. But there's other things. There's the whole marketing side of things is very reliant on technology. And then for your training and continuing education, if you don't already have a niche area, I highly recommend that you get one, because it's going to make it a lot easier for you to do your marketing. And then networking, peer networking. That may not sound like training or continuing education, but I have found that some of the best or most fun type of learning is whenever I have a few of my astrology friends and we do study groups. We'll pick a book, we'll meet every few weeks, we'll just have a repeating calendar event, and we get together and we learn together. It's powerful. You can learn so much in a small group. So those are just some of the ideas that we have for you. Did you want to add anything to that, Marie?
The only thing that I would like to add to that is it's called continuing education for a reason. It is not something that you do for a year and then stop, or 2 years and stop. It is continuous. You must continue to grow and develop your skills, because This enhances your business. And business, everything is changing so quickly, and you need to do what you can to keep your skills up. And, if you're out there networking, you're going to hear about what's new out, on the market, and you can decide whether or not you want to try it or not, but you need to at least know what's going on. But it's continuing education, as I said, for a reason. It's continuous. So that's all I wanted to add to that. And oh my goodness, this is such a lovely quote. Education is the kindling of a flame, but it's not the filling of a vessel. So you can get the education, but you still have to go out there and do the work and fill the vessel yourself. This is Socrates. Love Socrates. Now we move on to the budget. And the budget can be, for some people, it can raise fear and anxiety. It does not have to. It can be pretty straightforward. When you're looking at your budget, you have to look initially at your initial costs. What are your startup expenses? What is it going to cost you to get this business off the ground? You have to have a website. You have to have the internet. You have to have a way to um, connect with people. Your marketing, your software, these are initial costs that there's no way to get around them. So you've got that. The monthly expenses you need to be able to track those. So do you have subscriptions? Do you have, for example, are you paying for Zoom? Are you paying for calendar system on a monthly basis? Your software, your office supplies, all of these are monthly expenses. In addition to, if you have people on your team, for example, I have a video editor that I pay monthly because he does my videos monthly. I have a graphics designer I pay monthly. All of this has to be calculated into these are your monthly expenses. Then you want to look at your income projections. And this is basically an estimate. It doesn't mean that it is actually what the income will be, but it's your expected income based on the consultations that you're going to provide per month or per week, or the courses that you have, or the speaking fees that you make. So look at what your services are and be realistic about your projections, but you want to look at that. And then, of course, financial goals, which are tied into the income projections, the monthly expenses, the initial costs. You're looking at short-term financial goals and long-term financial goals. So projections for objectives for your business. You want to be profitable. It used to be that it took about 5 years to get in the black. And we call it in business being in the black or being in the red. Red means you haven't made a profit. It doesn't mean that you're going under, but you haven't made a profit. In the black means that you are making a profit there. And so, look at in your short-term financial goals, may be a bit less as far as the projection is concerned than the long-term goal. But you want to look at that. Look at your cash flow, because this is, this is how much you're bringing in and how much is going out, because you want to make sure that you have enough liquidity so that you can take care of the monthly expenses and also the unforeseen expenses that can come up. This is the unforeseen expenses that you're looking at your contingency fund here. And you can set that contingency fund up in a separate account so that you don't touch it. That's what I actually recommend, because if it's in your main account, you may spend it. So if you have it in a separate account, a savings account, or not a cash account, then it's there when your income fluctuates. And like Lori said, the income will fluctuate because of the type of business that that we're all in. You never know really how much you're going to make month to month. And you want to make sure that it's in cash and not invested in CDs, or, I mean, you can put some money in CDs, but when you're looking at needing cash, you need to be able to get your hands on it right away. So that's why a good savings account is good for that, because you'll at least get a little bit of interest on that. And some people, it's interesting, some people use gold coins or silver coins as the way that they're creating their contingency fund, because they can then go out and sell that gold piece right away the same day. So that's something to look at too. Lori, what would you like to add?
I would like to add that earlier we talked about revenue streams and pricing. And if you do that first, you play around with that first, then when you're creating your budget and you're pulling your income projections in, you'll already have a good idea for what that projection is going to look
Mm-hmm.
right. So even though that revenue stream activity is for the budget, I recommend you do that first. And then, you'll do your budget, and if your expenses are a lot more, then there is some strategy that needs to go into that. Your first year of business, you're probably not going to make more money than you spend.
Mm-hmm.
Unlikely.
Might not even be after the second year either,
Not.
it's,
Right.
yeah.
It can take years. And that's why having a business plan is so important, so that you can actually make it past that 5 years. That Marie was saying that most businesses don't become profitable into 5 years. It's also true that most businesses don't make it to 5 years. They close. And that's because they didn't plan well, or they gave up too soon. They expected immediate success. And that's sure, it happens. Look at your chart. You'll probably know pretty quickly if you have one of those charts that manifest things really quickly. But then there's a lot of us who don't. I have a very Saturnian chart, retrograde in the fall. Like, I knew that this was going to take a long time. Not that it was impossible, but that it was going to take time. And I planned for that. And it's finally paying off. Perseverance.
Absolutely.
Really important.
And you've got to work. You've got to be willing to put the time in and the work in. This doesn't get done just by thinking about it. You have to actually do it and spend time.
That's why Saturn rules business structure, right?
Yeah, you're talking to a Saturn and Capricorn person
Yeah.
over here. Retrograde, by the way. Which it does bring up what, it reiterates what you're talking about, Lori, about we really do need to look at our charts, because when you have Saturn retrograde, it can take longer to get the goal, because to reach the goal, because you're having to really work hard to do that. So yeah.
Look at your
Yeah.
chart. All right.
Exactly.
Now we're going to talk about the most exciting subject, taxes. So here's what I say to that. If you're paying taxes, your business is real. Paying taxes makes it real. That is the mantra that makes it somewhat okay to give your money to the government, whatever government you're giving it to, whatever country you're located in. If you're paying taxes, you're in business and it's real. And that is why I personally couldn't wait to pay taxes, because it meant that my business was really a business. Like, I'm actually doing my business. So here's some things for you to think about. get an accountant. I think we've already covered that, so I'm not going to say any more than that. Get an accountant. If you live in the United States and you make enough money, the threshold is pretty low. You're making more than whatever that threshold is, and I can't remember what it is. You have to pay into Social Security. If you're not paying into Social Security, you're breaking the law. So be a good business owner and get your accountant and pay into Social Security. And then you get that money back, hopefully, whenever you decide to retire. Also recommend that you get your EIN, your employer identification number. It will be important to have your EIN number when you pay taxes. And of course, you want to know what your state and local laws are around taxes. So some cities and states have other business registration requirements and tax requirements for like a local city tax. Those things you have to know if you're doing your own taxes. If you have a tax accountant, they're going to take care of that for you. If you don't live in the United States, then you have tax laws according to your own country. And of course, this isn't an exhaustive list, but just to name a few, if you live in the UK or Europe, you have the VAT or the value added tax. If you live in the UK, there's national insurance that you have to pay into. If you're in Australia, there's the GST, the goods and services tax. And if you live in South Africa, there's the provisional tax. So these are just some examples of the different types of taxes that you would have to pay based on where you live. And the message here is know what you're required to do in your area for your particular business type.
Mm-hmm. That is so important. And one of the things about having a business, one of the advantages, one of the many advantages, is that you get to write off some of the expenses that you have. That some of the travel expenses, mileage that with your car, or meals that you have with potential clients or business people, you get to write that off, and that saves you. That saves you money being able to do that. If you're not a business, you don't get to write those off.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And sorry, we didn't get that on the bullet list here, but yeah, that's so important. Track your expenses for that reason. If no other reason, track your expenses so you can write them off.
It's important. And then we look at licenses. And of course, this is the license that you will need, or even if you need a license, is determined by where you live. There are certain, and we'll give you examples of this, but there are certain states where the licensing is a little different. So you want in business license. Out here in California, we have to have a business license. Where you are, you may not need it. So here in the U.S., in some U.S. states, municipalities require a business license for astrology, and some areas they don't. Then there's the general licensing, and astrology is in the category of being fortune telling in a lot of places. So it's considered entertainment. And if it's entertainment, it may not require a business license, but you still need to check with your particular state and also your city or your town, because there's also local regulations, and you need to find out what the ordinances are or permits. For example, where I am, if I'm going to see clients in person, which I don't do, there are certain permits that I need, and they need to be on the wall in the building where you're in the room where you're practicing. There's also ramps for that you would need for entrances and things like that. But this is just, when you're looking at local regulations, you need to find out what permits you need in the local area, whether you're going to be seeing people online or whether you're going to be seeing people in person. You also need to look at liability insurance. And there's different types of liability insurance, but you want to protect yourself against legal claims and business related risks. And that's one type of liability insurance. Now, you can also have liability insurance for your equipment. If your equipment breaks down, you can look to your homeowner's policy. There should be a liability aspect to that so that your equipment is covered. But this type of liability that we're referring to here today is to protect you against legal claims. And there are a few companies out here that sell liability insurance. I used to work in the insurance industry, and one of the things that I learned, which is so true, you want to have as much protection as you can to keep people from getting to your personal assets. So, in your liability insurance is what does that. So if they have to go through your liability insurance before they get to your personal assets, is that is key. And that's also brings up something we talked about before. When you set up your business, do you want it to be a sole proprietorship? Do you want it to be, do you want a limited liability corporate, or corporation? That's going to play into that. And then you want to look at professional coverage, and this is basically financial protection. There's insurance that you can get. I believe Aflac covers it, has this in the States. But if you are incapacitated, not able to work, or you can have insurance that will at least give you some money to be able to pay your bills on a monthly basis for a particular period of time. So, yeah. Lori, what would you like to add to that?
I think one thing to take into consideration as to the urgency of getting coverage is the type of astrology practice. If you are, say, an acupuncturist who brings astrology into your practice, you are really going to want to have protection, because now you're combining medical with your astrology. And it can be a cost that is just not possible for you when you first start your business. So it's just kind of good to think about it in advance. Like, how much do I need it? What do I practice? And what's the risk here? What are the chances of me having a lawsuit? And then when can I afford it? And of course, you may not know that, because in your first few years of business, it's unpredictable. But what you can do is add it as a line item in your budget so that you remember to look into that every year when you're doing your new budget, and you look at your income and you look at your expenses and you think, oh, now this is the year I think I can afford this insurance. But again, if you're doing something that has a lot of risk with it, then you're going to want to get it. If you are a licensed psychotherapist, I'm a licensed psychotherapist. I don't do therapy anymore, so I'm not as concerned. But I know that there are many psychotherapists who are also astrologers, and they're combining. And some of them have figured out how to continue to take insurance for the psychotherapy. And of course, if you are a licensed clinician, you probably already have coverage. But to just think about, what is the risk level? Do I need insurance sooner than later? How much is it going to cost me? You can get quotes and know what it's going to cost. And then just have that there in your business plan as like a strategic goal for when it makes the most sense for you.
Very good.
Yeah. And these are just some examples. It's definitely not a comprehensive list. I just did a search, and we wanted to share some examples for you of some regulations that might require permits or licenses or registrations. So you can take a snapshot and check that out later. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can hit the pause button.
Yeah, I'm north of San Francisco, so I don't need a fortune telling license, but you do have to check in the county though that you live in to see what the requirement is. I love that. Love that list.
Yeah, so we'll just continue along here with the legal considerations with the thought that planning ahead will help you in the future. Now, some of these things are required. Privacy policy, the one at the bottom, it's a legal requirement now. You really can't get away from that. I guess if you're not doing any sort of email marketing, you can. But you still want to have, if you collect any personal information, you are required by law to have a privacy policy. Terms and services is not typically required by law, but a really good thing to do. It sets out your terms of service. And if you do run into any legal trouble, if you have your terms of service, it can be the document that keeps you out of court and helps you win any kind of lawsuit. And it's one of those things that, as they say, you don't need it until you need it. So it's better to just draft one up, put it on your website, and it's there. The next thing is your service description. You want to make sure that you are sharing with your clients exactly what they need to know about your service. You don't want there to be any surprises. Okay, maybe some good surprises with how great of an astrologer you are, but no surprises as in, oh, I thought this was going to be a 90-minute consultation and you're ending at 45. Now the client has a problem because they didn't understand what they were going to get. They expected a recording and you didn't record. They expected a written report, but you don't do that. You want to be really clear to your clients what they're going to get so that when they walk in the door, their expectations are met or surpassed. It's always great when you can give more than what was expected. Same concept with payment terms. They should be very clear. I have to pay first before I get my service. Can I pay you after? I don't recommend that, by the way. And let's see, your payment methods, like what's going to happen when I click that button to book with you? Sometimes you just want to spell it out, like this is what's going to happen, and then have the button, click me or book now, that kind of thing. And then whatever happens after they hit that button, that nothing is surprising to them. The next thing is a cancellation policy, and you really want to have this. It's not required by law, but it will help you when it happens, and it's going to happen to you at some time in your business. It may not happen for a few years, but somebody is going to have to cancel on you. That's not a problem. But what you want is a policy. You want to know how to respond to that because you want to respond to all clients in the same way. You never know when two clients might know each other. And if you let one client reschedule and the other one, you didn't let them reschedule and you kept their money, now you've been inconsistent. But what's most important is that you have that policy, your client can read it, and you can refer to that if they're a no-show. If they're a no-show and you took their money and you say, I'm not giving you your money back, and you don't have a policy on that, and they decide to take you to small claims court, you probably will lose. I don't know, not a legal expert, but you have a much greater risk than if you had that policy and it was there. The next thing is confidentiality. You want to make sure you're protecting your client's information. Now, we're not a medical organization, so we're not talking HIPAA type of privacy here, but still, you're getting confidential information. You're getting birth information, and then they're sharing their personal life stories in the session. So you might want to have something about confidentiality. You could put that in your terms of service. Wherever you decide to put it, it's important just to have some sort of statement that whatever they share is confidential. And then we have liability and disclaimers. So you can get like a little snippet of text. AI can do that, or you could just Google it and you'll find it. So for example, if you do medical astrology, you want to have a disclaimer that you are not a medical professional and you are not giving medical advice. You are giving information from an astrology chart. If you do financial astrology, you are not a licensed financial, I don't know what they call themselves, but you know where I'm going with that. So you just want to be really clear with your disclaimers around the type of offers that you have. And then I've already talked about privacy policy. You have to have one. There are online legal document generators. You can usually get your first one free. So I would recommend that if you don't have a privacy policy, that you go use one of those free generators and get one, because it'll ask you questions and then it'll create a document and will populate it with your information. Marie, do you want to add anything?
Having this is, for me, it has saved my bacon a few times. Having the terms of agreement, the service descriptions, the payment terms, because people, everyone has their own value system. And, I've had people come back and say, can I pay you monthly for this, for this astrology reading? Or, if you're saying I do 90-minute readings, I changed it to say up to 90 minutes. And the reason I changed mine is because of what I've heard from a couple of other astrologers where, they were giving, say, hour readings, and maybe they told the client what they needed to tell the client within 45 minutes or 50 minutes. And the client has come back and said, I've got 10 more minutes, but they've been given the information that they needed within the 50-minute period or 45-minute period. So I actually say my readings are up to 90 minutes. So, that's a little clause there. And you'll learn as you go along how you want to tweak this. And it's not to say that certain parts of the legal considerations aren't a little flexible. If you have a consolation policy, and I do recommend that you have it, and you have, say, a long-term client who has been working with you for a while, they have an emergency, but they don't contact you because of that emergency. Maybe somebody fell or somebody got hurt, or somebody had to go to the hospital and they couldn't contact you. It's up to you whether you honor that cancellation policy or whether you're flexible with it. You can take it on a case-by-case basis, but you definitely need a privacy policy. You definitely need all of this in line, and because it's your boundary and it is important. So that is all I want to add to that. I even have a disclaimer on my videos that I do on YouTube. I am not a licensed therapist. I am giving you my opinion, so it has to be there. So we're going to move next into the marketing plan. And of course, we're going to, on our next video, we will lay out a detailed marketing plan. This is an important overview, or giving you the components, but know that the next video is going to be, there's going to be it's going to be much more detailed. So here we're looking at, of course, the 4 Ps and the positioning. So you're looking at your product, which is your service, your price, how much are you charging, your place, where are you going to be doing your services, and your promotion strategies. This is so key, and this is the first part of the marketing plan. Now you're looking at your strategy for branding, and so you want to outline how you're going to position your astrology business in the market. What are you going to do? Are you aware you need a niche to be able to come up with your business strategy? You've got to have a website. It's a no-brainer, but we're mentioning it here. because that's your storefront. Not only your storefront, that's your calling card. We don't necessarily use business cards as much as we used to, but because everybody's online, also, you're not going to be able to give a business card to someone who's in Europe, or they're going to look at your website. So you need to have that website there and to showcase your services. And that website needs to be in line with the products, the price, the place, and the promotion. Email lists. It's very difficult to grow a business without an email list, because who are you going to market to? You need to be able to engage with your audience. My view is engage with your audience at least once a week. If you're not able to do once a week, then once a month. But I tell you, if you want to be on the tip of the tongue of your potential client, you need to be in front of them more often. So, and I'm not a proponent of sending emails out every day to an email list, because I do believe that you're discounted, your noise now, and they're going to delete it. But if you're giving valuable content uh, to your ideal client through your email list, they're more likely to open your emails, and this is a good way to generate income and to build your client base. So you're looking at your ideal client. And this is also determined by your niche. And so if you're a medical astrologer, who's your ideal client as a medical astrologer? Or if you're evolutionary astrologer, who's your ideal client? You need to be clear on that. Doesn't mean that you can't work with people who are not that in that particular framework, but your marketing has to be targeted, and having an ideal client does that. What is your promotional plan? So how are you going to work with social media? Do you know a particular platform on social media that is best for you? Do you use X, formerly Twitter, or do you use Instagram or Facebook, or some of the other platforms out here? Reddit, I think, is one that is used too. Pick one or two, but don't pick all of them, because the way you market is different for each one. And you also want to not spread yourself too thin. You want to, then we talk about the competitive marketplace. And this is looking at what other astrologers are doing. How are you positioned in uh, in the marketplace? Do you have a service that is um, in demand? Are you offering something that your competitors aren't able to offer? I still remember having a conversation years ago with my husband, who was in of course, a different industry. And he always said, with my competitors, I know who my competitors are, I know what they can do, and I also know what they can't do. And where I market what they can't do as my strength. And that is and I find that to be so beneficial, even in the astrological world. So, what is the analyze the market and see what's out there. You want to, of course, be able to measure your success, which we've talked a little bit about. And in marketing, it's also all about the numbers. You need to be able to run those analytics and find out how your strategy is working. If you come up with a marketing plan or a way to advertise, you need to stay on top of it and see if it's working, so that you can tweak it, so that you can change it. Because as the market changes, as people change, your marketing, the advertising needs to change to to match that. You may, for example, something happens in the news that is just it's just blaring. You may have a skill that is a resolution to what is happening in the news. Maybe you want to put out an email or a blog post to your email list based on something that is happening in the news. That's marketing. So, Lori, what would you like to add to that one?
I think I'm going to save it for our next video because we're going to take a really deep dive into
Yeah,
marketing, and I'm
yeah.
excited to get that put together for you, for all of you who are watching our series.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Now we're to the astrology part. So we just wrapped up the different components that we recommend you put in your business plan. And of course, timing is an important part of that, and astrology is very much about timing. So one of the things that we recommend that you do is your business plan is a very Saturnian type of activity to do. So maybe do it whenever you have a Saturn transit or when Saturn is prominent in your chart. And then another thing that I like to do is review during a Mercury retrograde. So if you've already written your business plan, we have a Mercury retrograde about every 3 months. That's a really good time to pull out your plan and review it and do your realigning as needed. So those are 2 recommendations. If you're wondering, oh, what's a good time for me to work on my business plan? Well, do it when Saturn's involved because it's effort. You're putting effort into your business. You really want to be able to think and plan and strategize and be disciplined and have a structured approach to your business plan. So using some of those Saturn keywords, use Saturn. This is what Saturn loves to do. We hear all the time about Saturn the malefic, but Saturn has its good qualities. And one of them is, putting in that hard work and effort and do something with discipline and structure. So that's what a business plan is. Of course, electional astrology is always helpful when you're launching something. So you would use electional astrology for choosing auspicious dates to launch something, to launch your business, to launch a new service, to launch a new platform. The thing is to just not get too overly caught up in elections, because sometimes that can actually interfere with you actually doing your business. It's really hard to always have a great, perfect, well, there's never a perfect elected chart, but sometimes it's even hard to find a good elected chart. And I would just say not to let that get in your way. You do the best you can. You pick your time period and you just find something in that time period. And then make sure that you're using a reasonable number of forecasting techniques. I wouldn't use just one. I mean, I wouldn't use 10. 3 is always a good number. And then the last piece here is aligning your business goals with your solar return. If you go solar return to solar return, then you're working with the same perfection year. If you use perfections with your solar returns, you're working with the same Lord of the year. So it's a nice chunk of time at the solar return. It matches up with the length of time that we recommend you look at your business plan. Anything you want to add to that, Marie?
The only thing that I would add to that is pay attention to your instincts and your intuition, and to also the guidance that you receive from the divine with this, because you may, I'm a proponent of combining my logical mind with my intuitive mind. Both need to be in sync. And it's amazing. Sometimes the universe has a plan for you that you're not aware of, or for example, when I was publishing my book, I used electional astrology because I knew that, with approximate, I wanted to look at when I needed to hit that button to get that book launched. Well, it didn't work out that way because of the other company to publish the book. Sometimes it's with your website. You want to hit that button at a certain time and launch that website because you've got it set. Know that if for some reason the timing is not exactly as you planned, know that it is for a reason and it is out of your hand. This is why I'm saying, bring your intuition into this, know that the divine is working with you and your guides, they know what is best for you. So yes, use the electional, the forecasting techniques, all the timing considerations. You really need to use those and know that that bigger picture is there too, and it is operating. So yeah, this is Peter Drucker quote. The aim of marketing is to know and understand the customer so well the product or services fit them and sells itself. Yeah, because really one of the what I believe in my heart is that you don't have to sell. The product sells itself. If you are out there just doing your business, just, putting the information out there, people will come to you versus you asking people to come to you. You'll attract.
Yes. What we're here to do, attract our ideal clients. Ah,
Absolutely.
so we'll be back in the next video talking a lot about marketing. And that was a presentation on business plan today. So we want to remind you that we both teach courses at Kepler. I know Marie has a course just starting in the summer.
Right. This one is the business of the business uh, for astrologers, basically life coaching for astrologers. So how to set up the business, how do you market and that sort of thing. That's done every summer. And then in the spring is part one, which is the fundamental course for life coaching. So you're learning what life coaching is, how it's incorporated into astrology, and all the components there. So, and Lori, of course, has her course in the fall.
Yes, Marketing for Astrologers. It's a 5-week course, and we write your marketing plan together. It's broken up into 5 different sections, and you'll write your marketing plan as we go over the different components that go into it. So we cover pretty much all of the major elements of marketing with the goal of you walking away with your own personalized marketing plan. That's what we do.
I love that.
Yeah. And I thought it would be important to mention some of the other courses we have in our professional development program. And these courses run in the summer. We have Omari Martin teaching 2 classes, Astropreneurship, his own invention of going into business for yourself, and then electional astrology to choose the right time to go into business. But he covers all electional astrology, not just the business side. And then we also have Nadia Shah, who teaches YouTube for astrologers. So if you're wanting to launch your own YouTube channel, or you want to get more subscribers to your channel, that's a great course to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. This is how you can find us.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for spending your time with us here today. We hope that you have enjoyed this video and that you've gotten a lot from it. Please be sure to comment and send us your questions, because a lot of times we look at all of the questions and all of the comments. Sometimes we create our videos based on the comments that we receive. It's like, oh my goodness, that's a good suggestion from the audience. So please be sure to comment and down below. and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't. So, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.